In my opinion, I don't think that there should be the good place or the good place, however you want to call it. I find that the concept of the human afterlife is a strange concept. A lot of people believe that if we have lived a fruitful life, if we've done good things, so on and so forth, we should be rewarded by spending eternity happy in quote unquote the good place. But that's a strange thought in that you can't have good without bad. So spending eternity being good all the time or having good experiences all the time is meaningless in the egalitarian point of view, because if everything is good, then nothing is good. But these are just some of my crazy thoughts that I'll be talking about in this video. Now, I will not be referencing The Good Place because that is not a good show, in that it is a forking good show, and if you haven't watched it, go forking watch it after I talk about what I'm going to be talking about. I'll try to not spoil anything, and hopefully this will be entertaining, or it might not be entertaining, so we'll have to see. Already I'm off to a pretty crazy start. So The Good Place, what do we mean by the good place? Again, this is just a place that where we spend eternity just having good events happening to us, but life is not like that. I often use the metaphor that life is like a roller coaster. There are ups and downs, and it's unpredictable what you're going to be experiencing in the next moments. It might be good or it might be bad, but again, you can't have the ups without the downs. And to further the original point, if you always had it up, then that would be boring, because who wants to go on a roller coaster where you're only just going up? You wouldn't have those woo moments. But I haven't really been on a roller coaster, heart disease, so I'll have to go on a roller coaster once or something like that. Another point to make is that good and bad are just concepts of our imagination that we assign to certain events when they make us feel in a positive way or in a negative way, i.e. things that we would want to repeat doing because we enjoy that feeling of having that thing done. However, again, bad is just a concept of our imagination, and it's something that we assign to something that we don't like doing. A saying that I like currently is that often the things that we don't like doing are the things that are good for us, because those are instances where we can learn. Our struggles are what we learn. Even though you may be going through a bad time, you learn from that. And again, the concept of the good place, you're doing something for eternity, and that's something that doesn't sit well with me. I think that there's a link between immortality and immorality, because if you just remove the first T in immortality, then you get immorality. And again, if with immortality, with doing the same thing over and over again, that leads to the feeling of anhedonia if you enjoy that thing at first, because who wants to be doing the same thing over and over again? That's just boring. After watching The Good Place for about 3 times now, I'm really going down this ethical and philosophical rabbit hole, but it's fun because who doesn't like ethical and moral philosophers? And so there are multiple ethics and philosophical ways of thinking about life. One such way is the ethics and philosophical points of view of determinism, which I believe is just hot sneaky cat dookie, but that's just my opinion. Determinism is a point of view where we have no control over what we do, and everything is just determined for us, and that's just a very boring way of thinking, and it goes on the points that we have no control. But I believe that we do have a lot of control. We can control whatever pertains to us, how we think, how we interact with people, what we do on a daily basis, and everything. So again, determinism is just hot, sticky cat dookie, but again, my opinion. Then there are also other philosophical points of view of living a good life. There's the philosophy of virtue ethics. Again, I'm not an expert on philosophy. I did a degree in mathematics, well, 2 degrees in mathematics. So, I mean, obviously I'm crazy, but yeah, you're just hearing thoughts from a crazy guy. This is my interpretation of it. Virtue ethics, it's doing things that show that, we are in a good standing morally. And for me, things that relate to moral ethics are being a positive person by making other people's lives a little bit better every day. Just whoever I interact with, I try to make their day a little bit better. I try to make good connections with people, old friends and new friends, and I find virtue in making strong connections with people. Then there's also the philosophy of consequentialism. So the things that we do, they have either a good or a bad effect to them. And consequentialism just says that basically we try to make everything that we do good. And for me, I try to make everyone's day a little bit better by, just saying little things such as, how are you? By showing that I care about how other people feel and that sort of stuff, just, by having good interactions with people. Then there's also the ethics of deontology, the idea that there are strict rules in society and the way that we should be interacting with others, and that's how we live a good life. Again, with me, there's sort of the deontological point of view of being good to everyone, and I may take that as a rule for myself. But of the same idea, rules are meant to be broken, as Deadpool said. The one philosophy that some people may say holds the most ground is nihilism, that nothing has any meaning, there is no meaning to life. As Nietzsche said, God is dead, we have killed him, who will wash this blood off of our hands. I've grown to like some nihilistic points of view. I've grown a liking to the ideology of existential nihilism, that things don't have a meaning. The only meaning that things have is the meaning that we associate with things, and we make our own meaning of what we want to do. We have the power and control to dictate what certain things have meaning to us and what is the meaning of our lives, that sort of stuff. The other ideology of nihilism that I like is absurdism, in that life is absurd. Life is ridiculous. There is the great example of absurdism from the philosopher Camus in the story of Sisyphus, a guy who was condemned by Zeus to, for eternity, roll up a boulder up a hill, only for that boulder to roll back down. And Sisyphus found quote-unquote enlightenment from that. Again, I'm not an expert in philosophy, but he found the enlightenment of seeing what was going on and everything like that. Just finding the little good things in life from the absurdity that he was forced to undertake for the rest of his life. And I've grown to see that there is a load of absurdity in life. There is absurdity in the meaning that we have decided as a human species in certain things that we have come to associate with everyday things. There's the great Chinese proverb that lies are like tigers and tigers are bad. Now, the actual original translation goes more in depth with that ideology, so I'll link to the Reddit page which I got this from, but basically there's an advisor to a king, and that advisor goes to the king and says that there's one person spreading the rumor that there's a tiger loose on the streets, and the king says, oh no, one person is probably no trouble then, that's just the rumor. Then the advisor goes to the king, says there are 2 people, and the king is like, oh yeah, 2 people, that's still probably just a rumor. Then the advisor asks, what if it's 3 people? And then the king is like, oh yeah, then that rumor probably holds some ground. I can see how we can relate that proverb to everything that we have done as humans. everything that we have done is just a construct of our imagination, and because so many of us have accepted that construct of imagination to be true, we accept it as ourselves as a true thing. But in reality, again, everything is just constructs of our imagination. The word fast is something that we mean as something that is moving quickly, something like that. However, the word fast in German is a word that has the translation of almost. The word Schadenfreude, we do not have that in the English language. We just borrow it from the German language, a word which means laughing at the pain/misery of other people. It's just some person who so many years ago said, "Oh, I like the sounding of the word Schadenfreude, and I look how it looks on paper. Let's associate that word with the meaning of laughing at the pain of other people." And so many people have used that definition that whenever we look at the spelling of the word Schadenfreude, or whenever we hear the sounds of the word Schadenfreude, we think of the meaning of joy that comes from the pain and misery of other people. And if you don't laugh at it, it's just painful. Another construct of our imagination that I've grown to dislike is the idea of positivity. Positivity is just a word that we as a species have used for so many years that it's ingrained in our brains that it means something, and it's ridiculous that we have grown accustomed to using that word. Positivity is just something that we say when there is something that makes us feel good, that sort of thing. We grown to do that thing over and over again because we like how it feels and that sort of stuff. But again, the idea of positivity, you can't have positivity without negativity. And there are loads of positives and negatives to everything. Name something, and I can probably find the positive and the negatives of that thing. Death, the negativity of that thing is that we no longer spend time with that particular thing, that they have died and everything like that. But the positivity of it is that the life of that thing is finite, and because of that finality, we have to enjoy every day that we spend with that thing. Philosophy is fun, isn't it? I find the fun in philosophy as in we're approaching the things that we don't know about, and we're trying to make approximations of what makes the most sense to us, such as the meaning of life. We don't know the science of the meaning of life, and we're making philosophical approaches and approximations to the meaning of life. The idea of the soul, we don't know what the soul is, but some people have made philosophical approximations to what the soul represents. However, science is on the lines of disproving that there's the idea of soul, but who likes science? Science is boring. For instance, people find math boring because math is basically just saying that there's a rule to doing a certain thing, and with that rule, it's just the idea of repeating that rule over and over again. And again, repeating something is just boring. And the thing that I find very interesting with philosophy is coming to terms with the philosophy of self-love. I am on the road to learning more about the philosophy of self-love because I myself am very interested in self-love. And it's a journey that I am willing to go under. I have been shifting myself from a philosophy of happiness coming from connections and happiness coming from self-love. And one philosophical idea that I've grown to think about with the philosophy of self-love is the philosophers Sartre's saying that hell is other people, but that I can see where that comes from, but at the same time, hell is only other people if I accept that hell is other people. And again, that comes down from the philosophy of existentialism, that the things that hold meaning are only the things that we allow to hold meaning to ourselves. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I had to say from this rabbit hole of there should be no the good place. But if you liked this video, please like, share, subscribe. If you want to hear more from me, please subscribe. And if you want to comment, let me know what you think about this. And until next time, goodbye.